we have to protect our children like we protect the people in this building. You guys use guns. You put a wall up. The hypocrisy doesn't go unnoticed. You put military people with guns everywhere. If that's what it takes to protect our schools, that's what I expect Congress to do. It's not brain surgery. I want to protect the kids.
So, is it a good idea to defund the police?
No, sir.
You spent time as a law enforcement officer, isn't that right? That's
yes,
your
sir.
Background? Retired law enforcement officer. How many years? 20-some years?
22.
22 years. Who'd you end up retiring? What police department?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, so not some small town. This is not you know, small town officers are just as important as large cities, but this is in a big city.
Correct.
You dealt with all kinds of stuff. You dealt with gang violence. I think you said you were on the gang violence task force and did work with that.
I did.
Yes, you've dealt with some tough situations. What do you think of these extreme protection orders?
Well, I think that the Supreme Court of the United States just had something to say about it. They just had a ruling at the end of last week. I don't even know what day it is, so forgive me. But recently that they struck it down, I believe in Maryland or somewhere. So I don't think that that's going to be an issue because here's my background on extreme protection orders. We already have a vehicle to help people who are in crisis. We have a vehicle to hold the 72 hours and get a psychological evaluation. A red flag law, like going and taking somebody's guns, removing one means of having an issue, where is the compassion in helping somebody by removing their means to defend themselves if they should need it during that time that they're in crisis?
Especially, Ms. Muller, if I could, especially when the process for removing that, the person who's going to be losing their firearm, losing their Second Amendment liberties, doesn't even get to be a part of that initial hearing.
Correct. And Mr. Massey brought up Nikki, who, you know, she went through a traumatic incident. She saw her husband murdered. This extreme protection orders could affect her because if somebody says, hey, Nikki's not having a great day, I think that you probably need to go pick up her guns. When this guy that killed her, the stalker that killed her husband, is still stalking her from prison, how would that make, I mean, there's just so many unintended consequences when it comes to red flag orders, let alone the constitutionality.
Or what about this scenario? What about a family of someone that you arrested and went away to prison and the family doesn't like you? And they go say, well, this Muller lady, you know, she believes in the Second Amendment. I think I saw a Trump flag in her yard. I don't like her. And they file this thing and you get the right kind of hearing where you don't get to go defend yourself at that hearing. And they come take your firearm. Those are the kind of scenarios that scare me. And we know in this cancel culture world that we live in, those kind of things happen all the time. Or how about this scenario? How about you have to go enforce an EPO? So you're the officer. Go back 10 years, 12 years ago, whenever you were a member of the Tulsa Police Department, and you've dealt with all kinds. You got to go now enforce it. And you got to go knock on the door and tell Mr. Jones or Mrs. Smith, hey, they just took your gun away. I'm here to take it. There was a proceeding. Now, you weren't a part of it, just your Second Amendment liberties. You weren't a part of it, but I got to take your gun. That may not be the best situation either for a cop to be walking into, would it?
And your Fourth Amendment.
Yeah, of course.
We're going to trample on your Second and your Fourth. It's very dangerous for police officers, extreme protection. But, you know, I was struck by us saying that we want to do nothing. I gave like 12 pages of testimony of things that I want to do, exactly. And everybody's talking about laws and things that I have ideas, and that's what I'm saying is a big injustice, is that you're not listening to me. It's the anti-gun people are so closed off to anything but their own agenda that they can't hear that we have measurable results in firearms education, and that we should be teaching our kids how to properly and safely be around firearms. It's just like water safety. Well,
Ms. Muller, if I you're doing great, but I promised my colleague and friend, Mr. Massey, I'd yield him some time, and I'm down to 40. So, Mr. Massey, you got my time.